Yep.
And so your analysis has been spot on, and that's why I'm so glad to touch base with you again today. But where are we at?
Yeah, man. I mean, first of all, I really appreciate that. It means a lot to me. And if I could help anyone with the basic stuff, in a world that could be quite confusing, such as astrology, I think that's a win in my world because it is quite a complicated art. And I try to actually avoid the complexities of astrology. So with this full moon, new moon, eclipse stuff that I've been sharing for the past maybe 3 years or so, I feel like it's been a very simplified and effective methodology to assume pivots in markets, or even if you wanted to look at month to month moves. I've been dialing it in even more lately with quarter moons and adding in elements like how things are on solstices and equinoxes. I don't want to complicate things for people, but I do have, if you go to watersabove.com/free, it's a free course. Go check it out. It teaches you how to use the moon cycles that Zach brought up. So, definitely something that could be very helpful for people if they have no idea where to get started. I don't know if you could see my chart that I'm sharing right now,
I
brother.
can, but I got to
Okay,
say, brother,
beautiful.
it just cracks me up because I was just laughing at I call my TA, I call Doofus Moron TA because I just make a kind of a joke about it. I keep it so simple, and I laugh at these guys that have 5,000 different indicators. In my program of just watching the moon and watching market psychology, it worked so dang well. But
Yeah,
continue, sorry.
I think sentiment is actually teaching me the most now because I think indicators are getting even t more tough because of how quickly things can shift, like the volatility, you know? So even things like trying to catch a bearish divergence or like an inverse head and shoulders, it's like it's not going to work, I think, moving forward. And I think we're going to have to kind of change up the way that we analyze markets. And I will continue to refine over time. It's funny, I've had people that'll be like, "Oh, you've changed the way you've done things, or you're doing this." It's like, of course, that's what science is. Like that's what being an alchemist is. Like you have to adjust as you experiment and have this awareness that everything, including markets, operate as a extension of Mother Nature. And for those people that don't believe me, like, well, it just is what it is. Like if you look at a bull run, it's a very short, momentary explosive kind of gift to the world. And that's what fruit does on the trees outside. Like you don't just see 365, 24/7. There's always fruit available. No, it has a harvest season where it's going through the process of giving what it's, been working on during that whole 8, 9, 10 month time frame. Anyways, don't want to complicate things here, but I'm looking at a chart that I've shared with the world probably going back a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, and it's just phased out every move on XRP. And I haven't been showing this too much lately because I feel like we don't need to see this. Nobody wanted to see this when we were here.
Hmm.
Nobody wanted to see this when we were here. And now everyone's saying that this is wrong, even though it was being shared back here when we were tracking the exact amount of days in the breakout phase. So let me just teach your audience really quickly what we're looking at. It's phase one would be the maximum buy pressure, or what we would call a buying climax in Wyckoff method. Here would be your buying climax in the 2018, early 2018 cycle. Then you have an exaggerated sell-off to an extreme low, typically narrative driven. That would be your phase two. Here, and by the way, this isn't Elliott wave theory. This is just me doing my own thing. I'm trying to simplify for everyone what's going on here. You have your exaggerated sell-off narrative driven for the C19 crash. V-shaped recovery pushes you into phase three, which is a automatic rally or an automatic reaction. It's perfect because you see this Christmas tree top vibe. Well, remember what was going on over here, the beginning of the SEC versus Ripple case, and XRP still went up 1,000% in the midst of all of this. So this just had to do with what? It had to do with liquidity, had nothing to do with what's going on with the narrative. Then we move down into phase four, which would be your return back to some sort of structural support, which here it made a lot of sense because that was your attempted support here before breakdown into a deeper correction. And then you come up into this sideways, like really arduous horizontal trading range that makes everyone hate their lives. This is actually 10 times worse than all of this shit
Right.
because no one wants to live through a trading range that's about 15 cents in both directions over and over and over again for almost 500 days. So what was insane about this analysis was when we tracked the amount of time that it was stuck within this horizontal trading range, it was 476 days or like about 67 weeks. And here it was 69 weeks. It was 489 days, almost an identical amount of time that it stretched out. Then we had the release, which breaks above phase three. As you can see here, we had the release and we had the same thing happen. Now, what's really bullish about what we're doing this time around, from a technical perspective, what was once resistance is now being backtested as a support, and it's being backtested as a support at a key level, the top of the golden pocket, the 786 fib. This correction that we just got, like you guys are hearing this first, by the way. I haven't even covered this in a public YouTube video. This correction that we just got is backtesting the most important level if we are going to maintain this overall bullish structure and a true push into price discovery. Now, because I haven't been editing this chart too often, it says we are here, which technically kind of is true. But what I think is going on is the length of the structure that we're going to be faced with in this moment today will be much more like this. Now, that's actually to be expected because if we were to look at this cycle from one to, let's just say from one to this phase right here, which would be the price discovery breakout where XRP is like finding how high can I go. That took about 1,200, let's call it 1,300 days. Well, 1,300 days was here, man.
Hmm.
So we know that this has been extended quite a bit. Why? Well, because we had a completely different narrative and a lot more hype in this phase for DeFi and NFTs and meme coins and just a different basket of stuff. And then they could blame the SEC case all they want, but XRP still went up 1,000%. We still have
And we weren't
altcoins.
even on exchanges available for some folks, right? How do you have liquidity coming in when folks can't even invest in it, right?
Precisely.
Yeah.
And on top of that, it made that 1000% move. While a lot of altcoins this cycle thus far haven't even made 1000% moves from their extreme lows to the current peak that we just experienced back in January. So, anyways, I don't want to confuse people here. I want to stick to this. And the timing of this is something that we could consider where I don't want to call this the actual peak. I think this was the peak. And this in Wyckoff, this little move up here into around January 13th would be called like an upthrust. And I don't want to say it's moved into distribution just yet because we've backtested a key level. So to keep our everything stupid simple, we have this move from the peak over to the actual peak or where all the buying pressure is exhausted. It took about 231 days. If we were to measure the same amount of time, 231 days brings us to late July. Now,
Mm.
one thing that I was teaching everyone a year ago before I released this project called the Crypto Decoding Blueprint was I was trying to teach people how to time the market cycles using astrology, but particularly focusing on the eclipse cycles. Okay. I don't want to go into too much detail, but that was released in the beginning of June of 2024. This was how, whatever, 4 or 5 months before the election. So we were in the midst of this chop sideways when I was teaching people this. And a year total from this moment, at least over a year
Mm.
from this moment, I was teaching that what we're moving into is going to be a little bit different structurally because we have a lot of negative energetics ahead in this particular year of 2025. Why? Because we have total lunar eclipses. As you said a little bit earlier about the Sam Bankman-Fried thing, well, the crash of Terra Luna happened on a total lunar eclipse, and the crash and arrest of Sam Bankman-Fried was all tied around a total lunar eclipse. This time around, what did we see with the total lunar eclipse? We saw complete market devastation, right? Everything breaking down.
And
Well,
what
we
date
have
was that here recently?
March 13th into 14th,
Right.
which
Right.
was this I you can't really see it on this chart, but it was a push down and starting to show a lot of weakness on XRP, but Bitcoin was already breaking down by then.
Yep.
Now, we didn't see any isolated events specifically to like an arrest or like something completely fall apart, but the point here is that we did start to see that stuff show up in late December into January with the Hawk Tuah girl and with the Trump coin
Mhm.
launch and with Melee, excuse me, and all this other bullshit, you know? So it was happening around this moment anyways. Then the energetics is what really sinks us down and confirms that all of that stuff is like it's going to happen.
Mhm.
Then we have one happening in September 7th. So I'm just kind of setting the foundation for everyone. I really hope everyone's taking notes on this because this is powerful stuff that I've been teaching for some time and a lot of people forget it. Why was I excited to share with you that we could be moving up into late July? Well, because I've been teaching that we're likely going to have our next major move for all of the crypto market into July, August, and I shared this information over a year ago. In that crypto decoding blueprint, I shared it as a theory called the double peak cycle. So that would not be a double top. That would mean we have something like this, where we have one phase, chop, and we have another phase.
Mm,
Bitcoin did this back in 2013.
mm.
Dogecoin did this in the last cycle. I could quickly show you so you guys can see what I mean. I could show you what Bitcoin did back in 2013, which was also, by the way, the year of the snake. Very important because we're in the year of the snake now. So you see this. We have a initial peak, then we have chop, huge correction, second peak. Then we'll quickly look at Dogecoin. Doge did this last cycle, which was fucking crazy. We moved up here just like XRP did when? In 2017.
That
This is
looks
why I've been
exactly like the 2017 fractal for
exactly.
XRP.
Exactly. And this is what I've been teaching people. Like, I think Doge is a much bigger part of this conversation than people want to entertain. And my crypto decoding blueprint teaches people what it is. It's tied to the planets. So XRP is tied to Mercury. Why? Because Mercury is the fastest moving planet. Mercury is tied to finance. It's where we get the word merchandise from, or commerce. What is XRP here to do? Cross-border payments, right? So it's all about travel. It's all about movement, right? Well, that's what Mercury is symbolic of. That's why it has the eagle wings on its head and on its feet. It's known for being the fastest planet, just like XRP is known for its speed. So Dogecoin would be tied to its own planet, which I believe is Mars. This is why Elon, the Mars guy, is always tied to Doge. This is all symbolic,
I
okay?
see. I'm following. I'm following. That's good.
Bitcoin is created by Satoshi Nakamoto. Satoshi is Saturn, father time, father blockchain, father algorithm, who creates or makes the idea of Bitcoin, which would be Jupiter, the king of the gods. This is why when Bitcoin dominance is high, excuse me, you have everything kind of like working off the energetics of Bitcoin. It's why we haven't had an alt season yet. Literally why we haven't had an alt season yet. Because Bitcoin is the king of the gods, the Jupiter. Now, that's not me trying to say that one is better than the other, because these are all deities. These are all gods. They all serve their purpose, and we're in disharmony right now on the world stage. And I hope I'm not taking up too much time with this information.
Well, no, you're not. And I would just say what that translates to in the charts and the markets is people are realizing, well, maybe I shouldn't be holding 20 different shit coins and I need to be back in Bitcoin. I need to be back in, tier one assets in this space. And so I think that, it aligns with what we're seeing right now in the markets and people are wondering, why isn't my Pepe coin moving?